Hello, good evening, greetings and salutations, and welcome to the latest edition of the Insider Access Show presented by the Fantasy Football Players Championship right here on the Better Sports Network. My name is Eric Balkman. You know me from the RotoViz High Stakes Lowdown, the Fantasy Football Players Championship, and of course, the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour as well. Connect with the Better Sports Network on X at Better Network. I am at Eric Balkman on that network as well. And my co-host tonight, on X at Sean T. Green. That's SeanTGreen from the Sports Gambling Podcast and the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. Mr. Sean Green. Sean, so good to have you on tonight. Good evening, sir. And how geeked up are you for Super Bowl 60 coming up in just a few hours here? Well, 3 days away, whatever it is.
I like where your head's at, where you're already down to hours. Yeah, it's been 2 long weeks. We got to get this game happening. And yeah, I mean, on our podcast, we're giving out 60 Super Bowl prop bets for Super Bowl 60. All those episodes are out. So I feel like I was kind of in like a Super Bowl bunker, just looking at the game from every sort of angle, trying to break it down. And yeah, now I come up for a little air. But yeah, no, super excited for the game. Should be, I think it's going to be a competitive game. Should be a good one. But yeah, I'm always down to talk ball.
Before we get into everything around the NFL, and Sean and I'll get into around the NFL tonight, we'll take a ride on the coaching carousel as well as some ADP values in the Never Too Early Best Ball Tournament with the FFPC. I want to pick your brain here. Rapid fire, real quick on this. How do you feel? And I'm not going to give you odds on this. Like, just tell me how you feel about it. Ramondre Stevenson over 49.5 rushing yards in the Super Bowl. How do you feel about that? Yes or no?
No, I'm on the under.
Okay, you're on the under on that. What about Rashid Shaheed under 2.5 catches, but over whatever it is, 30-some yards receiving? Where do you fall in on that?
I love that. You get the reverse correlation on the same game parlay machine. That's a fun angle. I think I like his longest catch as well. I actually also have him first catch for the Seattle Seahawks at 9-1. So, yeah, I think Shaheed has a couple big plays. If you want to go under 2.5 catches and over yards, that's a fun way to play it.
What about anytime touchdown Matt Collins, but on that same game parlay, Matt Collins under 2.5 catches?
Yeah, that's another one. He's kind of a similar. I'm not on the Pats. I don't have Matt Collins anytime touchdown on my card. But he's always good for like 2 catches. I don't know if he's going to get a ton of catches. Again, he actually, to me, is a fun one in the first catch market because I think they trust him. But I don't mind Matt Collins 2 catches and a anytime touchdown. That's certainly a good way to attack it.
Last prop I'm going to bring up, and we'll get back to it at the end of the show if there's still time. Jackson Smith-Njigba under 19.5 receiving yards in the first quarter.
Yeah, so I don't have a ton of plays on JSN either for or against him, but I would say historically Super Bowls start pretty slow.
Right.
And so him not getting 19.5 receiving yards, them trying to figure it out. Again, normally like the auto play is no score in the first 6.5 minutes. It's starting slow. I could see a bunch of 3 and outs on both sides. So yeah, that one makes a ton of sense.
So you said you were staying away from just JSN props in general. Why is that in the Super Bowl?
Yeah, because I think I think the opportunities for Seattle is as far as the passing game, the running backs and tight ends out of the passing game, I like better. I don't think you can totally shut down JSN, but I think they're going to do everything they can to slow him down. I guess I just like the other ancillary guys on the offense better. Obviously they have lower numbers. JSN, I think will still get his. It's just his number is so high. I don't have a strong position fading or taking him.
Okay, that makes sense to me. And we'll get into we'll get a Super Bowl pick at minimum from you.
Let's go.
Currently Seahawks -4.5, 45.5 for the total. Sean, before we sign off tonight, I'm going to hold you to picking one side or the other on both of those.
No
picks.
problem.
Around the NFL is going to lead things off tonight. We will get on the coaching carousel as well. And then, of course, never too early best ball tournament targets and fades included, but not limited to Javonte Williams, Jordan Tyson, Dalton Kincaid, Michael Penix, and so much more. If you are looking for some drafting fun right now, the FFPC is your home for it. MyFFPC.com. If you want to play fantasy football year-round, 365 days a year, we have Dynasty and Empire Orphans available. $77 all the way up to $5,000 is the entry fee normally. We have some of those teams listed as little as $1 right now, so you can basically pick up a freebie for Dynasty Fantasy Football in 2026, manage its way to perhaps a championship, and all of a sudden you are looking really good with that orphan that you picked up at myffpc.com. The Never Too Early Best Ball and Never Too Early Superflex Best Ball Tournament available now, myffpc.com. $125 and $35 entry, respectively. 40 grand and 10 grand are the grand prizes there. And then we have launched the FFPC Big Gorilla for 2026 as well. $350 to enter that. $1 million grand prize. 7 Bananas promo is live. Early Rampage tournament is live as well. That features a $25,000 grand prize. We had Tommy Heron on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour last night, who won the 25 grand in the Early Rampage tournament last year. And for those of you saying, oh, I don't want to draft now, that team has no shot of winning the $1 million. Tommy Heron's team that won the Early Rampage tournament took 4th place overall, and he drafted it in March last year. So take heed, all you who are playing in the Big Gorilla. And for the first time ever, we are offering the FFPC Baby Gorilla. You want to play high stakes fantasy football at a different price point, $125 entry fee gets you in this, and you can win $100,000 grand prize. Sign up for all 4 of these tournaments, as well as the Dynasty and Empire Orphans at myffpc.com. Shout out to our producer, Sean Engel, tonight. Let's get into it. Sean Green from Sports Gambling Podcast. In his, I don't know if you just call it like state of the franchise press conference, Brian Gutekunst for the Green Bay Packers said Jordan Love did not require any offseason surgeries. He is not going to require any offseason procedures. He had a thumb injury in the preseason that kind of cropped up halfway through the 2025 campaign, was dealing with a myriad of injuries this year. Kind of didn't slow him down. I think if you look at the underlying numbers with Jordan Love, you'd be like, wow, I didn't realize he was putting up these types of numbers with, Tucker Kraft for a half season, Christian Watson for a half season, stuff like that. Your thoughts on Jordan Love as it pertains to 2026 FFPC drafts? And Sean, before you answer this question, I'm going to let you know right now, as far as the FFPC Never Too Early Best Ball Tournament, I'm going to cite the ADP from one Darren Armani right now at Fantasy Mojo on X, fantasymojo.com. He is the godfather of the Pros vs. Joe's Challenge. My internet is down right now, so I can't have a problem citing Jordan Love ADP. But just your general thoughts on Jordan Love going forward, knowing that I think there's a penchant out there for people to kind of like downgrade him because they don't believe he's as good as he should be. And there's also the way that offense is structured with, spraying the ball around the field. Your thoughts on waiting on a quarterback in 2026, perhaps in the Never Too Early Best Ball Tournament or the Big Gorilla, and your thoughts on drafting Jordan Love either as your starting quarterback or as your, if you go quarterback, bang, bang, as your backup quarterback this year. Jordan Love in 2026, I think wheels are up, my friend.
Yeah, no, tough to disagree there. I'm with you. I think it's easy to be optimistic about Jordan Love and the offense, and you mentioned it. I mean, Tucker Kraft was their pass catcher, and missing him for half the season. He comes back healthy. They have a bunch of young receivers that maybe they can get to develop here a little bit. Offensive line seems good enough. I mean, the issues, if I'm a Packers fan, are on the defensive side of the ball and special teams. I think the offense is in pretty decent hands. I know I don't know. I don't know what it is about Jordan Love. Maybe it's all the throwing off his back foot, but it seems to work for him. He does. I think what's annoying is he does it when he doesn't need to, and then it still works. You're like, how is that working? And I think that there's some weird eye tests or priors that people have against Jordan Love that knock him down. But in fantasy especially, he's very serviceable. Like if you want to wait on a quarterback and you end up with Jordan Love as your starter, that's totally fine. I mean, maybe there's concerns of like who's the guy you stack him with if you're trying to stack. And I guess we'll see if Tucker Kraft is 100% to go to start the season. That's probably a concern. But yeah, overall, I think Jordan Love, it's not the sexy pick, but I think he's a pretty high floor for quarterback.
I think that's the thing is it's like I'm not advertising anybody to draft Jordan Love as like the 6th quarterback off
Yeah.
of the 7th quarter. Like if you're getting him as quarterback 13 or quarterback 14, then yeah, play the matchups with him. And if you're drafting Brock, it seemed like I have been drafting Purdy and Love as my quarterback combos as a bodily function, Sean, over the last couple of years. Like those are the guys I always go to battle with. And, well, yeah, and you can kind of pair up or not pair up, but you can kind of figure out who's going up against the worst defense that week as the season goes on. So I think there's a lot to be said about Love in that situation going forward here in 2026. Now, a situation that is not as good for quarterbacks in the NFL right now. The Cleveland Browns. Let's go there. The Akron Beacon-Journal had this quote from Andrew Berry, the Browns GM this year. Quote, "We're probably going to be one of the younger teams in the league in 2026. So kind of an innocuous quote, but if we dig deeper, if we look between the lines here, I think there's something to be said about not only Quinshon Judkins, but the rest of the pass catchers in Cleveland. The Browns are going to be very young at quarterback, running back, and tight end. You could make the case that they'll be very young at wide receiver in 2026 as well. The Browns have been among the most seasoned, experienced when it comes to offensive line play over the course of the last half decade. Joel Bitonio, Wyatt Teller, Cam Robinson, Jack Conklin, Ethan Posick, if I'm pronouncing that name right, they are all free agents on the Browns offensive line coming up into 2026. So you're looking at Tevin Jenkins, Joel Bitonio, who will be 35 this coming season as well, and may just choose to hang it up rather than come back this year. The fact that the Browns are planning Chris Easterling posted this. They're embarking on a plan that almost assuredly lowers the average age on the roster, would make it seem like a lot of these offensive linemen that were Cleveland Browns in 2025 are not coming back in 2026. Andrew Berry kind of laying the framework on that, as well as how he feels this offense is going to look like for this upcoming season. So we have to look at it from this standpoint. If the Browns are getting very younger at offensive line, does this mean, and Quinshon Judkins is coming off an injury, does this mean that we need to downgrade players like Judkins? You think about other guys on this offense, Harold Fannin, Cedric Tillman, Isaiah Bond, whoever they draft at wide receiver, whoever they sign at wide receiver, whoever they trade for at wide receiver, whoever the skill position guys are, Sean, here in 2026, do we need to downgrade them because of this perceived lack of strong offensive line, or at least lack of experience at the offensive line position this upcoming year?
Yeah, I mean, that certainly was, well, I mean, the Browns always struggle, so that's nothing new, but they had some moments where they looked competent, and it was, few and far between, but again, it was that offensive line. It was, a heavy dose of Harold Fannin. I still think, Fannin, again, I was a huge fan of him coming out of college. I think, especially if you're playing in a tight end premium like FFPC, Fannin to me is like, matchup, system, whatever, proof. Some of these other guys, I don't know, man. It's going to be tough to get there. In general, I don't think you're going to want a ton of Cleveland Browns on your fantasy roster. And not only will we see a huge loss, most likely in experience on offensive line, but obviously, what does the offense look like with no Stefanski and with Todd Monken coming in there? Yeah. Now, Stefanski gets a lot of respect as a play caller and OC, but certainly wasn't elevating anyone here these last couple of years, and even I think turned over the play calling duties a number of times. So maybe Monken and the fresh start, maybe he somehow gels with Shedeur Sanders. Any sort of offensive success in the Cleveland Browns that you're trying to project, it's like, hey, if this goes right and that goes right and that goes, it's a lot of things that have to go right. So yeah, certainly the O-line is just added to the list of concerns for the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, no, and I think this is, and you can feel free to disagree with me here, but I mean, I'm drafting 8 teams in Kentucky this upcoming weekend, Super Bowl weekend, and I like, and we'll get into some other offenses like this, but man, there's no reason outside of Fannin, to me, there's no reason to target Cleveland Browns this year as far as drafts stand right now, Sean.
Yeah, no, I mean, again, maybe Fannin, just because I
Right.
like the guy and the 1.5 point PPR, and maybe some people are scared off because of the. But I think if Shador or Watson or God knows who else is starting, they're gonna throw Fannin the ball a ton. So
Yeah, God knows who else is probably the leading contender.
we'll see a few snaps from God knows who else. Mark my word, there will be someone on there where you're like, holy crap, he's the quarterback for the Browns. Hey, who's starting for the Browns this week? God knows who else. We'll see a few games.
Yeah, undrafted guy out of Fresno State. You never saw it coming. I want to
Diego Pavia.
Yeah, well, dude. I mean, can you imagine?
Yeah, the city of Cleveland.
Dude,
they would love him. They would love him.
The team that selected Baker Mayfield, I think Diego Pavia is in that same sort of like football family tree, right?
Yeah.
But then when you consider what they did in the draft last year was Sanders and Gabriel, and then they got Pavia in like the 5th round this year, I'm here for it.
I would love it. Diego Pavia being a Cleveland Brown would just be so awesome.
It makes too much sense not to happen, quite frankly. Yeah. I want to shift to a team that is, as of this moment, Sean, a little bit more stable at the quarterback position, and that's the Los Angeles Rams. Now, the latest we've heard on Matthew Stafford's back, this came out a couple of days ago. Sean McVay saying that Stafford is not going to have surgery to repair a herniated disc in his back, an injury that he played through for the entire 2025 campaign, which when you consider how good Stafford's year was this year, that's pretty effing impressive that he was able to play through that injury to the level that he did this year. Led the league, I believe, in touchdown passes, single-digit interceptions. It was a truly great season for Stafford. Might win him the MVP here. Or do we know that already? I didn't even know.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we are going head-to-head with the awards show. So right. the news might already be out. The betting odds suggest he's going to win, but maybe there's an upset. It's probably going Stafford, though.
So I have to ask you right now, in regards to if you are drafting now in the FFPC or wherever you're drafting, what do you make of Stafford? Do you draft him as a quarterback 13 through 24, a quarterback 2 that is going to help supplement your quarterback 1 play? Or are you not drafting him because you believe he's not coming back this year, Sean?
So, yeah, I kind of want to play this both sides, right? Where I do think he's coming back, but I don't know if I'm drafting him because there's still a 5 to 10% chance he doesn't come back, and you're not getting any sort of discount, right, on Matt Stafford. I haven't seen his latest ADP, so yeah, he's not a guy. And also, he's coming off an MVP season. Everything went right for Matt Stafford. I don't know. I'm a little skeptical he's going to have the exact same season last year. And it seems like from his ADP, that's probably where he's priced at. So I would predict he's coming back, but I'm not drafting him right now.
What's your, if we went on a 0 to 100% scale, what's your level of confidence that Stafford comes back? Is it 60%? Is it 70%? Where are you at on that currently, Sean?
Yeah, I would say 85%. Usually if a guy's going to retire, we'll be hearing that. I mean, the draft is right around the corner. I think these guys understand, hey, if I am going to retire, I got to let Sean McVay know so that they can figure out what they're going to do at quarterback. But again, there's a small chance. So yeah, probably 85, 90%. So whatever. So out of 10, I'm 8 or 9.
That makes sense. And I can tell you right now, according to Fantasy Mojo right now, FFPC players are drafting him as quarterback 15. So they believe he is coming back. He is currently a 9th round pick, right behind Brock Purdy, Jared Goff, right ahead of Jordan Love and Bo Nix. So people believe he is coming back. And I guess the next question with that comes to that, now that we have his ADP in FFPC never too early drafts, what do you make of that ADP? A quarterback 15, the 9-11. It seems like you're out on that price range for Stafford. You'd be much more likely to take Love, Nix, Mayfield, or Tyler Shuck instead of Stafford.
Yeah. I guess it's always interesting, when you're comparing them to guys around. it just seems like there's a lot of ways it doesn't work out for Matt Stafford. Retirement being a small outcome, injury being a definite outcome, and just kind of, I mean, again, he had an MVP year this late in his career. We saw it with Peyton Manning. He had that MVP year and then kind of fell off there in Denver. Like these guys hit the wall at some point. So with the back on top of it, and we heard all that back news coming into this season, and he still ended up being fine. Yeah, of those guys, and you get no rushing upside. So yeah, I honestly, Love is kind of intriguing compared to some of these other guys.
The back thing is crazy because I can't. And you listen, you've been around this game for as long as anybody. Can you remember a time when it was August last year, Sean, and we're seeing everything posted on X?
Oh yeah.
Mobile hyperbaric chamber that Matthew Stafford
is
like basically Dracula in. Like this is his coffin that he is able to rise up from it when he has to practice, and then he goes back down and lays down in it when he doesn't have to practice, to the point where he's probably gonna, as we're on the air now, he's probably gonna win MVP before we sign up. I have never remembered a story like this with any NFL player in the past.
Well, there was like a conspiracy theory that they had like a replacement version of Matt Stafford when he went in the chamber. It was a clone of Matt Stafford coming out. So yeah, weird times. And I didn't know what to make of it. I was a little skeptical of the Rams, but obviously a very good season overall, and especially offensively, had a great year.
100%. I want to continue this Rams conversation with you, and I want to delve into the aspect of Davante Adams, who is he's under contract with the Rams. There's no reason he shouldn't come back this year. He's 33 years old. Sean McVay, in his exit press conference, said he absolutely expects Davante Adams to return to the team in 2026. My question to you is ADP related. And before you answer it, I'm going to give you the ADP on Davante Adams in the FFPC Never Too Early Best Ball Tournament. Wide receiver 20 is where he has fallen to. He is now a pick on that 4-5 turn, right around Jamison Williams and Zay Flowers, who are going above him, Devonta Smith, Luther Burden, Jalen Waddle going right underneath him. I understand that his value in 2025 was inflated by touchdowns, obviously, because he had so many of them. He was on pace for a 20 touchdown season for the better part of 2/3 or 3/4 of the season. But your thoughts right now, if you want Davante Adams on your team, you have to not only consult how good he is going to be coming into his age 33 season, but fending off injuries, and then also the quarterback question, where we think it's going to be Stafford, but it's not a guarantee that it's going to be Stafford throwing to him. But Sean, if you're drafting this weekend, are you willing to soak a late 4th or early 5th round pick into one Davante Adams?
Yeah, he's not someone I'm rushing to click, especially right now. And here's what I'll say. No knock on Davante Adams. And I would think they would probably still use him on the 1 yard line. But if you kind of go over the years, and someone pointed this out I was listening to, and it was kind of interesting, where the Rams really like to mix things up scheme wise and what they do, right? Like this year they ran a ton of 13 personnel. Previous years, no 13 personnel. They ran empty a bunch, previous years, not as much empty this year. So Sean McVay loves himself a good scheme change. And if he is not still like that auto play at the 1 yard line for whatever reason, whether it's scheme adjustment, Stafford not being there, then you lose a tremendous amount of value. And I don't know how many times have we seen these guys who have the outlier year touchdowns. It's tough to bank on that year after year. So again, you're probably paying that touchdown tax. It seems like there's way more ways this doesn't get home. I'd rather rely on someone that we know is going to get the same amount of targets, same amount of catches. Historically, you don't want to take a guy who has an outlier year. I mean, as simple as it seems, right? So that would be my knock against him. He still is a very good player. So not a complete pass, but you're probably on the high end right now.
I always think too, like Cecil Lammy from Football Guys says this every year: beware the career year, which is what you're saying. And you know what's frustrating to me is, and I watched, and maybe you know this, maybe you don't, Sean. I'm in Northeast Wisconsin, right? And so I saw Davante Adams up close for years, for the better part of his career. And there was a play that Matt LaFleur and Mike McCarthy, especially Matt LaFleur, but Mike McCarthy ran a little bit before him. When the Packers had the ball at like the 2 or the 3 yard line, they would run Davante Adams in motion. And once that motion happened and you could see that it was man coverage, they would just snap the ball and let Adams catch the ball in the flat while the man was still chasing him, and it'd be a walk-in touchdown. I saw that several times with the Rams this year, and I'm like, Jesus, why can't the Rams just run this play all the time? And then number 2, why can't everybody run this play? CeeDee Lamb, Puka Nacua, Jamar Chase, like run this play all the time. It always seems to work when teams are in man coverage, and obviously that doesn't always happen. Now, the goal line mode, we've seen it over and over again with Adams for sure this year. It's to put a bow on this conversation. I always say it's a young man's game. When it comes to players that are being drafted right around the same spot of each other, I usually go with the younger guy. In this case, Luther Burden, Jalen Waddle, Devonta Smith, Zay Flowers, Jamison Williams, all those guys are going right around the same spot Davante Adams is, and they don't really have the quarterback question, and they don't have the age question. So I'm with you. I'm probably going to be fading Davante Adams when I'm drafting this upcoming weekend for sure. Okay, moving on here to Kansas City. This is a fun one, Sean. Nate Taylor, who covers the Chiefs for ESPN.com, and maybe this is probably not the most earth-shattering announcement of all time, but that Kansas City is, quote, expected to have a new starting running back for the 2026 season. We are very excited about this, knowing that Andy Reid is still in charge. They're going to have Eric Bieniemy as the offensive coordinator as opposed to Matt Nagy, which I think is a good thing. You also look at Mahomes I shouldn't say he's not going to be available at the start of the season, because who knows? He's a freak. He's an alien. He might be ready to go week 1. I don't know. And then obviously the pass catchers they have on this team, with or without Travis Kelce, they're still returning players like Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy, so on and so forth. But getting that running back, which should be a massive upgrade over a player like Isaiah Pacheco or Kareem Hunt or any of the direct that they've been trotting out there over the last few years. I'm very excited for. They have the 9th overall pick. Certainly, I've seen a lot of mocks with Jeremiah Love going there as well. Regardless if it's Love or not, I am very excited to see who this starting running back is that they either trade for, sign for, or draft this upcoming season. And maybe, I don't know, Sean, if you have any ideas of who we should be targeting in drafts right now that could be the 1A in Kansas City in 2026.
Yeah, I mean, interesting question. And you said new starting running back. That to me implies they had a starting running back. I mean, I don't know. Did they really have a starting running back in Kansas City last year? Or, I mean, when's the last time you had reliable running back play, especially fantasy wise, from the Chiefs? It's been a long time. And they've tried a bunch of different things here over the years. It'll be interesting to see what they do. I still think I'd be a little surprised if the Chiefs spend a top, but obviously they've drafted running backs in the first round. Now that's at the end of the first round. So I would be surprised if they use the top 10 pick on a running back, but just from knowing Andy Reid, the dream is you get a guy like Brian Westbrook, a guy that's is a multiple pass catching and on the ground. And then, obviously Travis Kelce's been such a big part of this offense. They got a lot of holes to fill on offense, it feels like. And obviously still a ton of question marks at the receiver position, although they have some talent there. Still skeptical. Yeah, if you got a lead on who you think the Chiefs are going to end up with at running back, certainly that's something to chase a little bit here in fantasy. I'm trying to think off the top of my head who's a free agent that's a good match.
Well, I mean, okay, let me throw some guys out there. Travis Etienne is one. He's a free agent.
Okay.
Kenneth Walker is another guy who's a free agent this year. And again, I don't know if the teams that they are currently with, Seattle, Jacksonville, I don't know if they let them, go, if they find a way to keep them aboard. But I do know that outside of Jeremiah Love, you're not finding a starting running back in this year's draft class. Like you're just, it's not. So to me, it's free agency, trade or bust. And when it comes to trade, I'm not here to break down, potential trades that could happen, because there's a zillion ways that this could go down for Kansas City. We just know that whoever they target via trade, free agency, or the draft, we need to be paying attention to for fantasy.
Oh yeah, 100%. And that Chiefs running back has always been the white whale that people have been chasing here. But it'll be interesting to see who they end up with. Obviously, Kenneth Walker would be interesting, but I don't know if they want a guy like his lack of pass blocking for a guy like Andy Reid, who loves throwing the ball, I think would be somewhat of a concern.
So the other thing too, in regards to this, because I think, I don't know, a lot of people are all aboard the whole running back free agent class. And I think, and this is me speculating, Sean, I think part of the reason is they know that the draft class is so bad. So if you want to fix your running back situation, you have to go through free agency. I didn't mention Breece Hall, who is also a free agent with the New York Jets. And there's been a lot of people like just, maybe wish casting, penciling in Breece Hall to Kansas City, because I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
Javonte Williams, Rico Dowdle, two guys that have had success in Dallas and Carolina. Rico Dowdle had success both spots in Dallas and Carolina. You look at those guys, Tyler Algier, who I think is a super under the radar guy. The problem I think I have with Algier is wherever he signs, I feel like that team is still going to sign somebody else or draft somebody else. I don't think anybody is going to sign Algier to be their, 1A and 1B. He's going to be.
Yeah, I'm with you. I like Algier, but he just never seems to have that. No team gives him like the workhorse role. So he's always tough in fantasy.
The other two players I'll mention, Nick Chubb and J.K. Dobbins, I'm kind of whatever on. But Rachaad White, Kenneth Gainwell, you see anything with those free agent running backs this year?
Kenneth Gainwell, again, beware the career year, I guess. He had a really good year, but he did a lot of stuff out of the backfield pass catching. Aaron Rodgers loved him, and he said his goal was getting him paid. I could definitely see him. It's hard not to see most running backs working in the Chiefs offense if done rightly, but yet still we have this problem, right? As fantasy players, you're like, this running back's going to work so good in the Chiefs offense. The Chiefs haven't been able to figure it out, but I think Kenneth Gainwell of those two would be a better fit for KC than Rachaad White.
I was listening to JJ Zacharyason's podcast this week, and he had on Kendrick Bourne, and Kendrick Bourne kind of made it seem like, hey, wherever Mac Jones goes, that's where I want to go because of how good they've been in New England and San Francisco and so on and so forth. You can make the case that Gainwell is probably talking to A-Rod and saying like, hey, what are you thinking, man? Because I want to go with you. And Rodgers is probably like, hell yeah, man. Anywhere I want to sign, whether that's Pittsburgh or somebody else, I want to make sure they have a spot for you because we worked well together this past year.
Aaron Rodgers is like Sandler, he brings along all his buddies for the movies. And I could right? Like when he was in New York, it's like Alan Lazard, all these old dust, Rob Schneider. It feels like Aaron Rodgers does that. Even if you don't like that, you got to respect his commitment to getting his friends jobs. So and he likes Kenneth Gainwell. I don't know if Rodgers comes back, the reunion with McCarthy, there's a lot to figure out.
Let me ask you this. This is not a fantasy football thing, but Sean, you have a background in comedy. I want to ask you this. Chris Farley obviously left this earth way too soon. Adam Sandler and him were good buddies. They both got fired from SNL the same year. Sandler and Farley were in some movies together. And Sandler in his when he hosted SNL a few years ago, did this kind of tribute to Chris Farley. And this goes back to my whole Kurt Cobain theory, that if these guys were around today, I don't know if we'd value them and hold them in the same esteem that we do musically, comedically, as we kind of do, because we know when they left us, they're at the peak of their powers. And I don't know if people would view Cobain the same way. Do you think people would view Farley the same way, especially if he's tagging out with Sandler and all these grown-ups movies?
That's a great question, because if anyone, you could see like an aging Farley, like still trying to do the fat guy in a little coat. Hey, still doing Too Much Blow and taking all these bad movies because he needed money. you're right. It's sad, but again, maybe he had his best moments. But I think Sandler's or Farley especially, he even before he passed away, you ask any other comedian who was the funniest guy, it was always Farley. So
Yeah.
I think he still had some. He probably had some good years, but again, 20 years later, it would be tough. He wouldn't be peak Farley.
No, he wouldn't be. It's one of those things, and quite frankly, I'm glad we don't have to answer, like figure out the answer to.
Yeah.
But it is fun to think about from time to time. Okay, back to fantasy football. Let's go to Cam Ward in Tennessee. Turron Davenport covers the Tennessee Titans for ESPN.com, and he believes that Tennessee is going to be using more run-pass options with Ward in 2026. Why? Because of their new offensive coordinator. The former New York Giants head coach, now Titans offensive coordinator Brian Daboll, ran RPOs on just under 13% of their plays this past year. That was fourth most in the league before Daboll got canned. And Ward, quite frankly, was really good running RPOs in Miami in college. Now, I don't think anybody is going to die on the hill of Cam Ward athleticism. Certainly there's something there, but I don't believe he is elite in that metric. But he could be good enough. And the fact that you get Daboll coming in, and maybe this is how I want to frame the question here for you. What do you think the impact is going to be on Daboll with Cam Ward as it stands right now, Sean, but knowing that Tennessee has, I believe, the most, if not the most, top 3 cap space to spend in the NFL this upcoming season? Cam Ward's options in 2025 or 2026 on February 5th could look a lot different than how good they could look, say, on April 5th or May 5th, 2026.
Yeah, a lot to get to there. I'll start with the Cam Ward running stuff. I do think it's just someone who bets some Cam Ward rushing stuff from time to time. Like, he played better when he ran. And I think he should incorporate that into his game more. And if Daboll's going to be having him do some design run stuff and some RPO stuff, I think they should be doing that. And yeah, the case against Cam Ward is who is he throwing the football to right now? How does the offensive line look? Like, there's some serious questions. And Robert Saleh running the team. Like, what have we seen as Robert Saleh out of a head coach that's produced anyone really fantasy interesting wise? Maybe some Garrett Wilson there a little bit, but that would be the case to be skeptical. But if you're making a case to buy low on Cam Ward and you're getting a good price, you talk yourself into the RPO stuff with Brian Daboll, and that they have to spend because they have so much cap space that they bring in some help in the pass catching role, and he ends up having a nice jump here in year 2.
Do you have any, because you look at the backfield, and I don't know if they do anything with the backfield with Pollard and Spears. I think what's more compelling is what they could do to wide receiver and tight end. Obviously, they got Chiga Okonkwo there, and then some young guys, right, with Alec Iamaner, Shamir DK, obviously there. It sounds like Calvin Ridley is gone. To me, I mean, reading in between the lines here, I feel like Tennessee is going to make a splash via trade or via free agency. I don't think that the Titans go to week 1 with their major weapons being Spears, Pollard, Okonkwo, DK, and Iamaner.
Yeah, although he had some moments with Iamaner there, and DK even, but yes, that they need to get him a real receiver 1. I think those guys are fine, maybe to round out a receiving core, but I mean, those guys you listed off, none of those are like a true receiver number 1. If you're going super deep, Gunnar Helm, the second tight end, stole a lot of Chig's work there late in the season, and they had some decent chemistry with him. That's like a super deep play there, the Gunnar Helm stuff. So, yeah, I'm with you. I think they will try. I mean, they got to. They got to make some moves here, and they certainly have the cap space and a decently high draft pick to do it.
Let me throw this at you, and maybe you don't want me to, but I'm going to. You're an Eagles guy, right, Sean?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Go Birds.
A.J. Brown was acquired from the Titans a few years ago to be the number 1 in Philadelphia. And I don't know if I have this on the rundown here, but it certainly seems like, based on what I'm reading and what I've heard, it sounds like Brown is more likely to be off the Eagles roster in 2026 than on. what about the Eagles trading Brown back to the Titans for, and I don't know what the exchange would be, but the fact that it seemed like last year Brown, and somebody else said this on another podcast, and I can't remember who it was, but they said that maybe Brown would be happier on a team that was not winning games like the Eagles were, but he was getting 10 targets a game on that squad and being happy with a 6, 7, 8 win team or whatever. And that's what the Titans could be in 2026. Your thoughts on Brown potentially going back to Tennessee? I'm just thinking of this out loud right now. How realistic is that?
Yeah, it's certainly chance. I think it's still a true 50-50 whether they bring him back. But yeah, there's certainly enough heat on a potential AJ Brown trade. But Howie Roseman is a good job of pumping up a trade value. And I don't think they're gonna move off of them without getting a decent haul. Also, I can't think of many trades that Howie Roseman has lost. So if they do end up trading with him, buyer beware. There's a lot of people who have regretted trading with Howie Roseman. On like, would he be happy in Tennessee more than he was in Philadelphia? Yeah, I still think. I mean, you look at his workload. Like, he's still, especially the second half of the season, he got a bunch of targets. I mean, he was dropping the balls in that playoff game. Like, that was the bigger issue than him getting targeted. Yeah. As far as would he be happier? I don't know. He seems like a lot of good receivers where they're just super enigmatic and tough to figure out. Would he get along with Brian Daboll? I don't know. Would he be happy with a second-year quarterback who struggled with accuracy? I don't know. So right. I think a little buyer beware if you're the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, and they have the cap space. Obviously, they will be in the market for getting somebody. And certainly A.J. Brown, if you are looking strictly at a trade, at the trade market, A.J. Brown's got to be right up there with potential acquisition of a stud wide receiver in his prime to Tennessee. Okay. Last thing I'll bring up with the Birds here, at least for now. Devonta Smith, knowing that you just said A.J. Brown is 50-50, or you leave him to be 50-50 coming back to Philly, does that mean if you're drafting right now, say in the FFPC Never Too Early Best Ball Tournament, Devonta Smith is going as wide receiver 21 in the early 5th round? Does that make it seem like you are more often than not, Sean, drafting a player like that at that spot, knowing that there's a 50-50 shot he could be the number 1 wide receiver on a Super Bowl contender this coming year?
Yeah, and I think you should buy. I mean, I think that's another good reason. But if you look at Sean Mannion and the type of routes we expect him to bring, the route tree, it really lines up great with Devonta Smith. So I think I'm expecting a massive year from Devonta Smith with or without AJ Brown out there. And on top of that, Dallas Goedert. There's a real chance Dallas Goedert is not back with the Philadelphia Eagles. And you want to talk about, I mean, he had 11 receiving touchdowns. Devonta Smith, there's a world where he, is leading the league in receptions, yards. Like, he really could be set up for. I mean, if we get either Goddard or AJ Brown not back, and there's a chance both, obviously I think both is the least likely, but if one or two of those guys aren't there, that opens up a bunch of touchdowns and receptions on top of what we expect as Eagles fans to be some better route concepts for Devonta Smith. So yeah, I'm super high on Devonta Smith this year.
Yeah, I think that you need to be in the early 5th round. It makes a lot of sense for the former Heisman Trophy winner, a guy that has always been in the shadow of A.J. Brown in Philly. If he does have the opportunity to shine as the number 1 there, he is going to way pay off on that 5th round ADP.
Oh, yeah.
The number 2 wide receiver entering the 2026 season in Carolina, according to Dave Canales, the head coach there, is going to be Jalen Coker behind Tedero McMillan. Coker was awesome against the Rams in the wild card game this year. And now we know his coach has kind of, rubber stamped his approval on this as well. Xavier Legette was a guy that I think a lot of FFPC dynasty players were down on when he entered the league, sort of like an older guy, coming into the NFL, and he has failed to grasp that number one or even number two receiver role here. Coker finished the year 33 catches, 394 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Not a great line, but bear in mind that he did miss some time this season. And when you consider where you can get him in the FFPC Never Too Early Best Ball Tournament right now, I don't know, man. Wide receiver 57 at the 1306, Sean. I'm more often than not going to be peppering a lot of my 13th round picks if I was drafting in this into Jalen Coker this year. I'm a big believer in him. And I guess it also comes down to how big of a believer you are in Bryce Young as well. But your thoughts on Jalen Coker coming into this upcoming year?
Yeah, huge cokehead, very high on Jalen Coker there. I liked what I saw out of him in the second half of the season. And to your point, it was maybe injuries, the Carolina offense in general. He's a guy we played a bunch of props on over the year, and even tried to find his ladders where you ladder up his receiving yards on the different overs. I think he has a bright future. And Leggett, I like him as a character. He's a very interesting interview, but he just doesn't seem to fully get it. So it's tough to be super optimistic on him. But yeah, I think Coker's a good find. Now the problem is you get Bryce Young, who can't consistently get over 200 passing yards, and a lot of those are going to still be going to Tet McMillan. But I definitely think Coker's a nice buy low this season.
Do you feel like Carolina has the opportunity and Canales and Bryce Young have the opportunity to support 2 fantasy-worthy wide receivers this year? I mean, obviously McMillan is going to be like a borderline wide receiver 1. But where do you fall in on Coker? Like, is his quarterback in that offense good enough to support him as a wide receiver 4 on your team in 2026?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's going to be the problem too. Is you're going to have to kind of pick and choose your spots with Coker, because it's not going to be he's going to have some down games, I still think, because that floor for the Carolina's Panthers passing game is pretty low. But certainly in best ball, he's definitely worth a shot, because we could see those breakout games like we saw in the playoffs. He's going to be tough, I guess, consistently starting him on your roster. But yeah, I do think they can probably support that second receiver, but you're going to have to pick those right spots to play him.
Sticking with the Carolina Panthers here, Sean, ESPN's David Newton, who covers Carolina Panthers for that outfit, believes that unless Rico Dowdle, quote, wants to return at a bargain price, he appears to be headed to his 3rd team in 3 seasons. Dowdle has publicly made it known that he was not thrilled with how little he was used in the last game of the regular season, as well as the playoffs. 12 carries for 19 yards in those 2 games. And he said that would be a factor when he considered where he was going to play this upcoming season. Now, Dowdle, I would say if he comes back to Carolina, and I don't know about you, Sean, but I've seen a lot of people on my X timeline talking of Jonathan Brooks. I totally forgot he was in the league.
Yeah,
which is crazy when you think about it, because of all the fanfare that he had coming into the NFL. But there's Brooks. They obviously extended Chuba Hubbard there. So if he comes back to Carolina, I don't know what that looks like. But he could come back to, beg your pardon, he could go to Kansas City. We talked about that at the top.
Yeah.
What would Dowdle look like in a Chiefs uniform? What about if the Saints decide to move on and they're not going to have Alvin Kamara anymore? What if he goes to New Orleans? Houston is looking for a running back as well. And, the elephant in the room, the Dallas Cowboys, if they let Javonte Williams go to free agency, what about Dowdle coming back there? The whole thing is this, and what it comes down to. For people who are drafting in the FFPC Never Too Early Best Ball Tournament, they are selecting Rico Dowdle on average as running back 29 at the 809 in those drafts. This is behind Jadarian Price, the rookie wide running back out of Notre Dame, Ramondre Stevenson, and it's right ahead of Bichelle Tootin, Blake Corum, and Tony Pollard. Now, knowing all those names there and knowing what we believe about what we believe about Rico Dowdle, Sean, How do you feel about Dowdle at that spot in drafts right now? Is he a target? Is he a fade? Is he kind of just a whatever guy and you'll select him in some spots, but not others?
Yeah, I think that's a little low for Rico Dowdle. To your point, I think he's going to go somewhere that wants him. I think there's multiple spots where he's going to end up and be like the 1A on a team's roster. And I'm with him. I think he can handle that. Now, the concern is the Carolina Panthers actually spent a lot of money on that in draft capital on that offensive line, and they were doing a pretty good job opening some holes up for Rico Dowdle. So maybe he was carried a little bit by that, but man, if I'm a team that needs a running back, I would definitely take a shot on Rico Dowdle. And from fantasy wise, if he's not the 1B like he was in Carolina, or if he's not splitting with someone and he's the primary lead guy, I think he's a definite play on. And the 32 starting-ish running backs in the league, 29 feels a little low for Rico Dowdle.
Rico Dowdle will enter the 2026 season as age 28. It'll be his age 28 year. And it's a little misleading because that age 28, he does not have the tread on the tires that some of these other age 28 running backs would have. So I think there's something to be said about that going forward here. We'll see where he ends up. And I'm with you. I think I'm probably going to be selecting him a little bit higher than other high-stakes fantasy football drafters would be at this point of the offseason. The last running back I want to bring up here in this segment, Todd Archer. He covers the Dallas Cowboys for ESPN. He says that Jaydon Blue is going to come into camp as, quote, the number 3 back at best, which is horrible if you are like, I'll be honest with you, Sean, and I dug my own grave on this one, but people were letting him slip in my dynasty drafts last year to like the 3rd, sometimes 4th round. And I was just like, I can't let this guy go. I'm scooping him up. I probably have 7 or 8 dynasty teams with Jaydon Blue on him right now. And obviously, yeah, I'm down on him, but I don't know. I think there might be something there. Call me crazy if you think that this is a guy that should be let go. I don't want to make my decision on this guy too early. Obviously, if the beat writer for ESPN.com who covers the Cowboys is saying at best he's going to be the number 3 running back, maybe I just need to part ways with him. But with the uncertainty at the top of the Cowboys backfield chart, I want to hang on to him as long as I can until I get some clarity on what Dallas is thinking they're going to do as at their not only starting running back, but backup running back position this year as well.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like the issues with Jaydon Blue is just, and you heard all these reports even before the season started, not kind of mentally focused, not acting as a professional, and whatever. He's a young kid. Don't want to kill him, I guess, too much. But it seems like it's that kind of stuff, which is always tough to predict because if the right coach gets it in his ear, if something clicks, if he has a holy crap moment, I might be out of the NFL wake up call, which we've seen happen, then you got a great asset because he certainly has a ton of athletic talent. The counter is he doesn't get it. He's shown he doesn't get it. The coaching staff hasn't changed. The scenery hasn't changed for Jaydon Blue. So the fact that like it's already getting leaked out that he's like going to be the 3 at best feels like they're pretty down on him internally. Now, on the other side, dynasty wise, you're obviously not getting anything for him. Do you need the roster spot? You kind of may as well just hang on to it.
That's my thought. And like, you know, it could be one of these things where Dallas lets Javonte Williams go, and then they don't sign a guy like, you know, some of these other guys we're talking about, ETN or Breece Hall or Kenneth Walker or any of these guys. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh God, we don't know what we're doing at running back. And Jaydon Blue might be the number 2 guy there. And maybe has, again, I'm not keeping him on my dynasty roster to be like, oh, he could be the number 1 guy there. But I'm keeping him on my dynasty roster because he could be the number 1 guy there for 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 4 weeks, right? And then there's value in that. So that's why I want to keep him around, at least for now. I am definitely more down on him now than I was at rookie drafts at this time last year. So that's around the NFL, ladies and gentlemen. We have to get into the coaching carousel. I want to talk about the new offensive coordinator that the Jets have hired. We need to talk about the new head coach in Las Vegas, which hasn't been announced yet, but we basically know who it is. And I want to lead things off with what Sean Green from Sports Gambling Podcast and the Sports Gambling Podcast Network has to say about the OC and the new head coach in Arizona and what it means for Trey Benson, James Conner, Marvin Harrison Jr., Michael Wilson, and of course, Trey McBride. You are watching FFPC Insider Access live on the Better Sports Network. I'm Eric Balkman. He's Sean Green. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back right after this.
When it comes to fantasy football, for folks like us, you can never be too early. There is no offseason. We're listening to these airways right now. We're tracking everything. We're getting fired up for free agency and the draft, talking about rookies, who's moving around, new coaches, new coordinators. How do we take advantage of that? Do some mock draft that no one's going to care about? No. What I like to do, I go over to the FFPC and I play in their never too early best ball contest. I've got all these takes. I've got all these things that I think are going to happen. How can I take advantage of that before the NFL draft, before all the cat's out of the bag and everybody knows what happened already? The never too early best ball contest is built for that. It actually closes on April 23rd before the NFL draft. So you're drafting against people like me, yourself. We all have the same type of information. We all have the same takes, and we're getting it on paper and potentially proving that we know what's going on, that we're plugged in. That's the place to do it. That's the place to take advantage of all these takes, all these rookies, and it's opened now at FFPC. They have slow drafts, they have fast drafts, they have super flex, tons of different ways to prove that you know more than the man next to you. And if you use promo code ALARM at myffpc.com, they'll give you $25 when you deposit $35 or more, give you a little bonus to get started. So get in there and draft in the never too early best ball contest on ffpc.com before it's too late.
FFPC Dynasty Leagues are going off strong right now at myffpc.com. You can pick up orphans in both Dynasty Fantasy Football and Empire Dynasty Fantasy Football Leagues for as little as $1. $1 could get you basically a freebie year in 2026 as you manage those teams into championship levels at myffpc.com. myffpc.com is where to go for that. As long as we're talking about the FFPC, check out the Superflex and the Best Ball Never Too Early tournaments. $35 in the Superflex Never Too Early Best Ball tournament gets you eligible for a $10,000 grand prize. $125 entry will get you eligible for a $40,000 grand prize in the Never Too Early Best Ball tournament. So if you look at both of those tournaments right now, which will stop at the start of the NFL draft in Pittsburgh this year, this is the time to swing your sword. Go for the home runs there because values will change after free agency ends and after the NFL draft starts. So you can get in now at myffpc.com, draft in those Never Too Early Best Ball tournaments, Never Too Early Superflex Best Ball tournaments as well. The ADP we have been citing tonight from Fantasy Mojo at fantasymojo.com. Fantasy Mojo at Fantasy Mojo on X. That's Darren Armani. He is the godfather of the Pros versus Joes tournament, a tournament that Sean Green has drafted in before. Anytime we cite ADP on this show, it is due to Darren Armani's Fantasy Mojo website that has been great for anybody playing in the FFPC. If you play in the FFPC, highly encourage you to get a subscription to fantasymojo.com. That will pay off in spades, not only for ADP, but once the season starts, obviously you're looking at bids, waiver wire bids and how much players are going off there. The tournament stack finder, if you are drafting in a tournament where you want to find out like, okay, how valuable is this stack? How valuable is this stack? So on and so forth. That is where you want to go for fantasymojo.com. And the last thing I'll mention too, the Big Gorilla and Baby Gorilla, both live at myffpc.com. The Big Gorilla, $350 entry, $1 million grand prize, both the 7 Bananas and Early Rampage tournament going off right now. 7 Bananas promo. We're going to keep giving you free FFPC teams if you keep getting that 7 pick randomly in a row. We'll give you a free main event team. We'll give you a free high society team. And if you get it 5 times in a row, you will win a jungle safari for $4,000 or $50,000, whichever you prefer, at myffpc.com. And don't forget, when you register for the Big Gorilla now, you are basically being entered into 2 tournaments, the Big Gorilla and the Early Rampage tournament. 2 tournaments for the price of 1, myffpc.com. And then the Baby Gorilla, for those of you watching who maybe are like, I don't know if I want to soak $350 in to play high stakes fantasy football. You don't have to do that anymore. You can submit a $125 entry. That still gets you eligible for a $100,000 grand prize. All those available at myffpc.com. Sports Gambling Podcast and Sports Gambling Podcast Network co-founder Sean Green joining me on the show tonight. I'm going to give you an opportunity to talk a little bit more about this throughout the show. But Sean, give us the idea of how Sports Gambling Podcast got started and where it's at today, because you guys have been blowing up. It's been insane to see.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, I founded with basically started doing the Sports Gambling Podcast back in 2011 with my buddy Ryan Kramer. We're out here in Los Angeles, 2 transplants from the East Coast. We both loved watching all the games, getting your direct TV boxes. We had a bunch of them. We were roommates for a while, and we loved talking about gambling as well. And it just seemed natural to hey, we should do a podcast of this. Again, there were not very many other sports gambling podcasts. Hence, we had the genius idea to call it the Sports Gambling Podcast, highlighting how long we've been at it. And we started there in 2011, and then just slowly, bit by bit, started doing more and more episodes, covering more ground, slowly building an audience. In end of 2017, we launched Sports Gambling Podcast Network, and then just slowly adding different shows to the network. And yeah, we got a pretty good umbrella right now. We got a NBA gambling podcast, hockey gambling podcast. One of our bigger shows is the College Experience, which covers college basketball, college football. Colby Dan does a great job with that. All our picks, all our content completely free. sportsgamblingpodcast.com. We have an app that has all the picks, and yeah, it's all free.
And Ryan Kramer has co-hosted the show with me before. He's been into the horse racing too, right?
Yeah, I think he's in this studio. I'm laughing because during the break, I had to go to the bathroom. I walked by him doing his horse racing show. So we have 2 studios. I'm in the side studio, so he can talk about his digital ponies. It's again, it's a true degen activity, but it's pretty fun. Everyone talks about NFTs, hey, it's just some JPEG, but the horse racing game is actually fun because you get this horse, it has all these attributes, and then you're racing the horses. They develop or they don't. You can breed them, and so there's this whole thing, and you actually get to watch them race for cryptocurrency that you win as prizes. So, whole fun world over there.
Yeah, and listen, I'll bring this in to all the viewers watching right now. If you think there is an aspect that the Sports Gambling Podcast has not tackled or at least, ascertained over the years, you're probably wrong, because they have a ton of stuff. It is the long tail, right? You guys cover so much when it comes to that. And certainly, obviously Super Bowl week, you're spending more time on that with March Madness.
We're doing just quick little plug here. Please. For Super Bowl 60, Ryan and I have each given out 60 Super Bowl props. Right. So from the game itself to the coin toss, the Gatorade color, player props, Steph Diggs longest reception versus his baby mamas. Everything has been covered on our 60 Super Bowl props. So we have some fun with it, but also, we're giving out a bunch of bets.
I think you said on X or YouTube or whatever it was, you're like, they said it wasn't possible.
Yeah.
You guys found 60 different props.
We always like going through the props. And I think it was maybe a few years ago where, the formula for podcasting is hey, the more episodes you put out, the more downloads you get. So, and we could talk about it for days on end. So we're like, hey, we'll do an episode Patriots props. We'll do an episode Seahawks props. We'll do an episode of the weird props. So, lot to give out.
They got it all covered at Sports Gambling Podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get into the coaching carousel here, Sean. I'm going to kick things off in Arizona. The Cardinals have hired former Jets offensive coordinator Nathaniel Hackett as their offensive coordinator. And perhaps I'm bearing the lead on this one. I think we are more interested in Mike LaFleur taking over the reins in Arizona this year. He'll be calling plays. Hackett won't be, which is probably a good thing, knowing me. Having to watch him as OC for the Packers for several years. I think this is very intriguing for guys like Mike Wilson, Marv Harrison, Trey McBride, and then we'll see what happens in the backfield with James Conner and Trey Benson. But I think back to what Mike LaFleur was running, and I say running in parentheses because Sean McVay was really running that offense, but they had two highly successful receivers in Los Angeles, in Nacua and Adams. Do you think that continues with Harrison and Wilson this year? And the only reason I bring that up is because Los Angeles, all due respect to Colby Parkinson, Terrence Ferguson, Tyler Higbee, and the like, they didn't have a tight end like Trey McBride that Arizona has. Your thoughts on Mike LaFleur taking over with Nathaniel Hackett as the OC in Arizona for how we handle guys like Harrison, Wilson, and McBride going forward?
Yeah, I mean, Nathaniel Hackett doesn't really I'm a little skeptical, but again, if you're optimistic about Arizona and that offense, and I think minus the quarterback, which is a real big question for them. Michael Wilson having a big year, and he looked great in the second half of the season with Jacoby Brissett, Trey McBride, Marvin Harrison Jr., who obviously has had his ups and downs, but certainly some flashes there in year two. Yeah, it's hard not to be optimistic about their offense a little bit, but massive question at quarterback, right? They were, I guess some potential red flags would be, hey, they played in a ton of blowout game scripts, right? Where they would just get down by 1,000,000 points, and then the garbage man, Jacoby Brissett, which was great for fantasy. And maybe they still have issues on that defense. I don't know how they fix that defense. So you could be in a lot of blowout game scripts. I mean, I ask you, what do you think they do? Who's the starting quarterback for the Cardinals next year?
Right. So there's rumors that, and I saw this, I can't remember who reported it, Sean, but that the Jets might trade for Jacoby Brissett. And my whole thing when I saw that was like, well, Arizona has Brissett under contract. Why would they let him go? Right. I think what it comes down to is Arizona being able to separate themselves from Kyler Murray. If they want to trade Kyler Murray to a team that is has an offensive coordinator, has a head coach that is willing to make concessions in order to have a mobile quarterback like Murray, who can't see over the offensive line, cook, then great. Then they will probably overpay to get him in a deal. And quite frankly, Murray was the number one overall pick of the draft not too long ago. So there is some talent there. I just feel like with what you saw in Arizona last year, why would you differentiate from that? Now, I have seen this too, the stats on, and you alluded to it, the amount of stats that Wilson and McBride specifically, but Harrison to a certain point, that have picked up in the second half where you knew that Arizona was going to be throwing to try to catch up in games. I think that's part of the reason Jonathan Gannon was fired. They don't want to have to deal with that again.
Yeah.
So me, and I don't know if I have Trey McBride on the rundown. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. But for me, he's an easy fade in the first round. I don't want to pay up for that price when I know that the next head coach and the next offensive coordinator, LaFleur and Hackett in this case, are going to go out of their way to try to have more of complementary football going on there. I just don't think McBride pays off coming off that career year where he has been sort of allergic to touchdowns dating back to his time at Colorado State. I don't want to pay that price. And I think that's what's going to happen this year. But I do think there's more than a 50% chance that Brissett is the starting quarterback this year. And quite frankly, Sean, that's how I'm drafting Arizona Cardinals pass catchers, as if Brissett will be the guy in Arizona this year.
Yeah, you're probably right. What they probably end up doing is, hey, Brissett, Jacoby bridge quarterback Brissett. He feel like he's been a bridge quarterback his entire career. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's the situation. New regime, they're going to want to draft their own quarterback. Probably won't be ready day one, so they'll have Brissett out there. How long can he keep that job? How long, and again, it might be, as much as they want to play complimentary football, they still might be in some garbage game scripts, because I don't know about that defense, man. Like, that's the biggest question for the Cardinals. The defense could be really bad again, and we could see some more garbage time, especially early. A lot of moving parts. Michael Wilson, to me, especially where you can get him, probably still the safest guy with a good upside. I mean, what's Michael Wilson's ADP? I would definitely be looking at him.
I'm going to couch this, and I'll tell you basically where both these wide receivers are going for Arizona right now. They are almost dead even in drafts, in the never too early drafts right now. Marvin Harrison, well, number one, Trey McBride is tight end 1 at the 107. Obviously, tight end premium scoring with the FFPC. That's where McBride's going. You have to go to the 7th round to get either one of these Arizona wide receivers. Harrison, wide receiver 34. Wilson, wide receiver 37. 704, 712. So you're looking at early 7th round as opposed to late 7th round with Harrison versus Wilson. And I don't know, man. I don't know how you feel about this, but like, to me, the hate has probably come too far on Harrison, and the love maybe has come too much on Wilson. If they're basically going at the same price, separated by a half round or whatever, I'm probably more likely to bet on Wilson. Beg your pardon. I'm probably more likely to bet on Harrison here. But I understand, I'm not going to quarrel with you if you think Wilson's the better play there. I just feel like I should be paying a lesser price for Wilson. Maybe that's a pipe dream right now, but that's how I feel.
Yeah, I guess I would have assumed, if I had to guess the ADP, that Michael Wilson would still be trailing Marvin Harrison. So the fact that
he is trailing him, but not
it's
not
close.
by that
Okay,
much.
Yeah, I'm surprised it's that close, I guess would be my thought.
Me too.
So I understand the upside case for Harrison.
The other thing I want to get into here with you as far as coaching goes, or the next thing I want to get into, Vikings pass game coordinator Brian Angelichio, which I think I'm pronouncing that right, I could be wrong, is the new offensive coordinator for Pittsburgh. This is more of a facade. It's more of just a figurehead piece, because Mike McCarthy will be calling plays for the Steelers this coming year. Now, I'm going to bring this up right now. I don't know how you feel about the Steelers. I don't know what they're going to do to sort of add more components to this offense. Mike McCarthy said when he took over the job, he felt like they had the pieces in there to be a Super Bowl winning offense, which, I mean, dude, unless they figure out quarterback, you definitely don't have that. But let's just say they bring back Rodgers, or let's say they get Brissett or somebody like that in there. Is it enough for Jalen Warren, Caleb Johnson, DK Metcalf, the trio of tight ends they have there? Is that enough? I don't know if it is, and quite frankly, I'm betting that it's not. And when it comes down to drafting Steelers right now, dude, Sean, I don't know if there's more. I mean, maybe Cleveland, but I don't know if there's an offense I'm more down on than Pittsburgh right now, despite Mike McCarthy taking over here. And this Angelichio OC hire, this does not move the needle for me at all.
Well, first off, great pronunciation of
I don't know if it's right. I don't know.
It sounds right. It sounds like you nailed it. And of course, Roethlisberger.
Wow.
Rodgers wanted to play for the Vikings.
Yeah.
And so maybe he likes, obviously, I would imagine he likes the scheme. And maybe that's one case for the upside. And Mike McCarthy, had a bunch of success with Rodgers. Those are like your optimistic cases.
Right.
The pessimistic cases are very easy, and I understand the skepticism. I mean, even this felt like probably exceeded expectations for the Steelers, and still not like an offense where you're dying to have a bunch of these guys on your fantasy team. Warren, to me, would be like the one guy, okay, I'm fine with. But other than that, like, there's so many questions for everyone else, I think. Warren, I still think is going to be a big part of the offense, but
I'm with you on this. And Gainwell could move on. Like,
yeah,
it's a very real possibility he's not in Pittsburgh. Caleb Johnson, I think, is somewhat interesting, given that we have seen rookie running backs take a little bit of a step forward, sometimes a significant step forward in year 2. I didn't really see anything from Caleb Johnson last year that suggests that he's going to be making that step this year. FFPC drafters are selecting him at running back 57 in the 67th round. This is Tank Bigsby, Kamani Vidal, Malik Davis, and Brian Robinson territory. is there any reason for you to believe like, hey, I should be taking Caleb Johnson earlier than the 16th round right now?
No, I mean, and he was a big whiff for me. I thought there was, an upside case for him coming into this season. And you want to talk about guys who just didn't get it. I keep going back to that. It cost me betting on the game where he just completely misjudged that kick return. And maybe it was just Tomlin didn't like him. And certainly maybe things click here with the different head coach. At least if you're selling yourself on Caleb Johnson, it starts with, okay, new head coach, new opportunity, not the previous where the Tomlin and crew clearly did not like him and he was not going to see the field much and didn't. And that's your positive case, but running back 57 feels high for Caleb Johnson, if I'm being honest.
So he's an easier fade for you.
Yeah. I mean, like if you're optimistic, it's, hey, new OC, new head coach, all that stuff. But we could also have a rookie quarterback, some vet that they might just not score a bunch of points. The Steelers offense. So there's a lot of downside scenarios for the Steelers offense.
Especially when it comes to Caleb Johnson, who will be an easy fade for me this weekend. Now, I mentioned, Sean, that I was super down on the Steelers and the Browns. I misspoke. There might be another offense that I am more down than both the Steelers and the Browns, and that's the New York Jets. They have hired former Panthers head coach Frank Reich as their offensive coordinator. Frank Reich, who obviously the last time he was running things in Carolina, they looked awful. He basically was he an interim head coach, I think, at Stanford? To me, and to other people wrote about this to me, it sounded like it was more of like a token, like a, hey, I know you gesture from Andrew Luck, who was for lack of a better term, the Stanford Cardinal GM there, and he brings Reich aboard. Dude, this Jets offense, they could lose Breece Hall. They have Braylon Allen and Isaiah Davis, which are fine, I guess. No solution at quarterback, Garrett Wilson, and nothing else at wide receiver. And they do have an up-and-coming tight end in Mason Taylor. But all that said, the hire. So Aaron Glenn basically fired everybody, after he took over the job, and now he's hiring all these other people. And I can't remember who said this. It might've been Matt Schaub from Draft Shark said, like, this is not, if you can't hire the right people and after year one, you're already firing everybody, that's not a good reflection on how good you are as a head coach.
Just to hop in there, they fired their offensive coordinator so late into the process. That to me is, one, firing both coordinators after year one, huge red flag, but also firing your OC so late. And it seems like they're just, are they trying to tank? Is that different from them trying not to tank? Who knows? How are you projecting this Jets offense to get many points? Like, what's the formula?
It's not, there's no formula. There is no formula. I'm willing to bet on Garrett Wilson, strictly because that offense has been pretty bad over the course of his career. And with the exception of 2025, he still put up really good numbers. So if there's one player that I'd be looking at in New York as a player I'm willing to bet on, it's probably Garrett Wilson. And I'm looking up his ADP right now.
He seems QB proof, right?
No, nobody's QB proof, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Justin Jefferson proved that last year, but
that's true. You're right.
But there is, you want to talk about the closest thing to QB proof. Garrett Wilson's right up there. He is wide receiver 16 right now, Sean, 311. So he is going right behind A.J. Brown and T. Higgins, right ahead of Ladd McConkey and Jamison Williams.
Thanks. Yeah.
Here's the thing. I'd be open to taking a shot on him at that spot. But when it comes down to it, Mike McDaniel in Los Angeles, I'm probably going to lean Ladd McConkey.
T. Higgins?
T. Higgins in Cincinnati. Dude, everybody's sleeping on Cincinnati. I don't understand why Burrow is being not necessarily Chase, but Burrow and Chase Brown. I don't understand why they're being drafted so late. It should be wheels up for that. That you cannot fix a defense as bad as that in 1 year. You just can't. Yep. And they're talking about letting Trey Hendrickson go too. This is like, my God, invest in the Bengals.
Yeah, it's going to be like Arizona, but better quarterback.
Right, exactly. Yes, that's exactly the way to look at it. And then Jamison Williams too, and we found out, and we'll get into this in a little bit. Drew Petzing is going to be calling the plays. We'll see on that. but I think I would be much more willing to invest in a piece of the Lions offense rather than the number one piece in the Jets offense. So I'd be open to Garrett Wilson at the 311, but to me, with all those other wide receivers around him, if they're still there, I'm not gonna, give up on McConkey and Williams to take Garrett Wilson there. If he slips a little bit past, 311 into the mid fourth or late fourth, yeah, I mean, there's more likely of a chance that I see him on my team. But I don't know, it could be another long year for the Jets this year.
Yeah, there's so many other guys on competent offenses you'd rather have.
Yes.
That have a safe floor and a decent upside. So yeah, no, I'm not going to have a lot of Garrett Wilson, I don't think, next year.
Todd Monken, the new head coach for the Cleveland Browns, Sean, is going to be calling offensive plays for the Browns this year in Cleveland. Now, Monken was the guy who brought in Travis Switzer from Baltimore to be his OC, which I guess is OC in name only because Monken's doing all the heavy lifting there. And the Ravens finished 4th, 3rd, and 11th in points per game under Monken in Baltimore. He's had Lamar Jackson at quarterback with the Ravens. He will not have Lamar Jackson in Cleveland. This year he's going to have Deshaun Watson, Shadir Sanders, or whatever. I mean, I don't know what to think on this. I'm going to say this, and this is probably going to be coming off as like short-sighted, maybe inaccurate, and definitely ageist. In a time when seemingly most NFL teams are going with the younger, up-and-coming head coaches, Cleveland did not hire one right away, and they waited and they waited and they waited. And quite frankly, Todd Monken waited and he waited and he waited. And now the Browns have hired Todd Monken as their new head coach, a guy who's in his late 50s, right around there. I don't know. Again, maybe I'm being ageist on this, but it just seems like this is another easy fade as far as the Browns offense goes. They're starting running backs coming off a significant injury. They don't have a proven wide receiver one. I think you can make a case for Harold Fannin, but that's about it on this squad. Tell me if I'm wrong as far as how you're seeing the Browns offense with Monken this year, Sean.
Yeah, no, I actually cashed at a really good price Todd Monken to be the Browns head coach. And my only handicap was the Browns are going to do something no one expects, that, they're going to do something weird that probably not going to work. And Todd Monken was the name that jumped out as a long shot. So I played a couple bucks on that and hit. But to me, Harold Fannin's the only guy that's interesting.
Yeah.
And it's just because he's a reliable target. I mean, Shador locked in on him. I'm sure if Watson plays, he's going to throw to him a ton. The Monken offense has been good to the tight ends. But yeah, I mean, any of those Monken stats were with Lamar Jackson. So I don't know if it's plug and play with Todd Monken in Cleveland. Fannin, I still like, especially in a tight end premium. But other than that, no thanks on everyone else. And Judkins was awesome. But now with the offensive line probably down and coming back on a major injury, you're not going to draft Judkins.
So this is the one thing I'll bring up. And I'm hoping this doesn't happen because it would be bad for me in fantasy football if it did. I don't believe the Browns have the number 6 pick in the draft. I don't believe that they take a wide receiver there, although I've seen some mocks. Jordan Tyson, who's the other guy? Not Carnell Tate. I've seen go up there. Certainly, that's a possibility. However, if the Browns end up, because they have a number 24 pick from Jacksonville, if they end up getting a wide receiver there, I think Denzel Boston would be a possibility, right? That might screw me up for fantasy, because then I'd be like, okay, here's their guy, right? This is the guy I want for fantasy football. And I'm going to throw out everything you and I just talked about with Monken and how his offense has been and what the shape, we talked about it at the top of the show, the shape of this young offensive line. It could be a disaster. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get around it. If they draft a wide receiver at 24 in the draft this year, I might be like, wheels up, baby. Here we go. This is the savior for Cleveland. And it's probably going to be a mistake.
Yeah, don't fall for the rookie hype, even if they're on Cleveland. Remember, Cleveland trumps everything, Eric.
That's going to be one of my fantasy football team names this year.
Just
Cleveland.
put a little sticky note on the laptop. Cleveland trumps everything.
Yeah. No Browns, no matter what. To borrow a Sonny Weaver from draft day. Okay. The Giants have. Oh God, this is a nice transition. The Giants have hired former Chiefs offensive coordinator Matt Nagy as their offensive coordinator. I would imagine, and we saw, I think, reports from Jordan Schultz from Fox Sports saying that I think it was Jordan Schultz, saying that this is going to be more of a concentration of the run game this year, which is great for Scadaboo, which is pretty good for Tyrone Tracy. Does Matt Nagy, does he move the needle in any direction for you at all, or is this kind of a milquetoast hire by John Harbaugh in New York?
Yeah, even my co-host Ryan Kramer said it wasn't his first choice. So even Giants fans are not stoked about him. I'm happy to fade the Giants offense here. And both Malik Neighbors and Cam Scadaboo coming off major injuries. Malik Neighbors probably not ready for week 1, which is always a red flag there. And then Cam Scadaboo.
Just real quick, when do you think he comes back? Is he back before October?
That's tough. That's really tough. Again, we're so far out, but if you look at the reports, it was like multiple ligaments.
Right.
And the fact that they're already trying to manage expectations by saying he might not be ready to start the season. Well, how often does that break right?
Neighbors himself.
Yeah.
Like, I'll come back. My target date is when I'm healthy. And I'm like, whoa, okay. This is, and right now, and so in FFPC.
And real quick on top of that, so, okay, you're installing a new offense with your number one receiver not being able to practice it in training camp, practice it in preseason games or any sort of all that work in the summer. He's missing that installing the new offense. So what are the odds he's going to hit the ground running in October? Again, he's a great athlete and a very good receiver, but I think we always see this in fantasy. Like the year after the injury sucks. It's the year after the year where you can get some good value and they really have a nice year. And then Scadaboo too. Like I liked Scadaboo at Arizona State as an Eagles fan. I rooted against him when he was on the Giants. He didn't have a ton of explosiveness as a running back. So now you throw on top of it a pretty bad ankle injury.
Yeah.
I'm also a little skeptical of Scadaboo. So
let me ask you this. Let's do a quick rapid fire would you rather on Malik Neighbors.
Sure.
Malik Neighbors, wide receiver 7 at the 204 right now. All these players are going after Neighbors as far as ADP goes. Would you rather have Malik Neighbors or Justin Jefferson?
Yeah. Is that a rhetorical question? Justin Jefferson.
No,
let's go.
Jefferson is going behind Neighbors in drafts right now.
That's crazy.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's crazy. That's crazy, says Sean Green. Malik Neighbors or Rashee Rice, who also has some off the field issues that could affect his availability.
Okay, that one I'm thinking on because he's gonna miss it. I would say he misses 4 games. That would be my prediction. Totally out of nowhere.
Neighbors could miss 4 games as well.
Yeah. So Rashee Rice, if he's healthy, the team seems to like him. Mahomes seems to like him. I'd probably go Rice because I can trust that offense more. But that one's close, honestly.
I will agree with you on, but I'm agreeing with you on both. I'd rather have Jefferson. I'd rather have Rice, although it's close. Let's dip further. Malik Neighbors or Nico Collins?
I like Nico Collins. But CJ Stroud, yeah. I'll still go Nico Collins because he's gonna be the day one stud for that offense.
Yeah, that's my whole thing. It is like Collins is available for all 17 games. Like,
yeah,
and I don't.
They play in a dome,
right?
They know the offense. They have continuity. There's just a lot of moving parts for the Giants.
We'll dip further. Malik Neighbors or George Pickens? Sean Green from Sports Gambling Podcast.
So I guess we're all thinking that Pickens is going to stay in Dallas.
I don't know. Are we thinking that?
I think they can franchise him. So it does seem like they would do that, but then is he going to be disgruntled about that? Probably. He is George Pickens. I kept thinking it was going to blow up for them, and we didn't really see that until towards the end of the season. Fantasy wise, give me Pickens. Again, you're getting really close.
This is great. That we're going to keep going. Malik Neighbors or Chris Olave, who has shot up essentially 4 rounds from where he was last year because he was not concussed last year, and Tyler Shough proved to be a capable NFL quarterback. Would you draft Neighbors over Olave or vice versa, Sean?
I would do Neighbors there. Yeah, okay. That's my you found my point of taking Neighbors. And
okay.
And I like Tyler Shough. I think the Kellen Moore offense, I like what we saw out of him, but again, it was like Olave, a lot of things kind of broke right, at least for him fantasy wise, stay healthy. One more year older for Olave. Yeah, I think you go Neighbors here.
I'm going to list off 5 more wide receivers here. You tell me if you would pick any of these guys over Malik Neighbors. Tetairoa McMillan, A.J. Brown, T. Higgins, Garrett Wilson, or Ladd McConkey. Are you picking Neighbors over all 5 of those guys?
No, I would take T. Higgins over Neighbors. And honestly, because I think T. Higgins is set for a massive year. I think kind of what we saw here at I like T. Higgins. So T. Higgins, I would be on board with.
All right, let's fire away with more coaching carousel news. This is not really a carousel because Davis Webb was promoted from pass game coordinator in Denver to be the Broncos' new offensive coordinator. This is, again, sort of like a title in name only because Sean Payton's still calling the plays. We don't really garner anything from this OC change in Denver, do we?
I don't think so. Yeah, again, it's Sean Payton's ship. He's running it. I mean, if anything, it's probably a good thing that they didn't want to lose Davis Webb, so they promoted him, right? I mean, that's seemingly, I don't think they were that upset with their current OC, but I think it was just they liked Davis Webb that much. So I don't think it moves the needle one way or the other.
If you go back a couple of years, Klint Kubiak was looked at as the savior for the New Orleans offense, where they put up back-to-back games of 40-plus points or more, and like we're all kind of like, for fantasy owners, like, oh my God, we totally underrated this New Orleans offense. And then if you look at how that year ended, it was not great for Kubiak, it was not great for the Saints, and it was not great for fantasy owners. He's rejuvenated his value in Seattle, taking over for I think it was I always screw this up. Was it Ben Grubb? The guy who is the Thing in the Fantastic Four comics. I always get mixed up with who the OC was last year with Mike McDonald, the guy who came over from Washington. I screw it up all the time. But basically, he was fired because he passed too much. Kubiak comes in as the OC there. Nice balance with Walker, Charbonnet, and then JSN, AJ Barner, Cooper Kupp, and the like. And now Kubiak looks like he's going to take over the head man job in Las Vegas, getting Fernando Mendoza, ostensibly, Brock Bowers, Ashton Genty. There's a lot to like about Las Vegas. I don't want to get my not that I'm a fan of the Raiders, I don't want to get my hopes up from a fantasy standpoint that all of a sudden Genty is going to be this, he's going to be unlocked as a fantasy merchant, and then Brock Bowers will be back to what he was doing in his rookie year. But quite frankly, Sean, it's hard not to get excited if Kubiak does come over, a real quarterback. I would assume they retool the offensive line as well. Should be wheels up for the Raiders offense, unless I'm wrong here.
Yeah, I think where what caused the biggest problems for them, scheme was a huge issue, but you look at the yards before contact for Genty, it was like nothing. Like he was getting slammed there, and retool the offensive line. That sounds like a good idea. I'm sure the Raiders want to do it. It's just that Raiders offensive line had a ton of holes. So, and now some of that was coaching with some, who they had as their O-line coach was, what was it, like Carroll's son-in-law or something?
Yep, son.
And like who they were playing over, who it was a total disaster. So if you're expecting better O-line play, yeah, I want to see them sign some O-linemen for me to get a little bit more excited. The O-line is the biggest concern. I think Fernando Mendoza can have a competent year. He's going to be in a dome. I still think there's a lot of Raiders defensive issues where there's the Raiders offense, I think, could be out there a decent amount. In game script there, they play a bunch of games in the dome. They are in a very tough division as far as like defenses they have to face. That would be a point of concern as well. So I think Genty's gonna have a better year than he did last year. but I don't think he's going to quite maximize the potential. It's going to take I think it's going to take 2 years for the offense to really click.
Okay, that's going to be my question here. The offensive line, if you look at Chicago this past year, they kind of did it in one season, right? They made some trades, they made some signings, they made some draft picks, and that Bears offensive line was pretty good. John Spytek, who was the right-hand man in Tampa when the Buccaneers were winning the Super Bowl with Tom Brady, I think he's a pretty intelligent guy. He is now the GM for Las Vegas. He's obviously working with Tom Brady there. I always, anytime I can bring this up, I'll bring it up as well. I played against John Spytek in a high school football game.
Nice.
In Wisconsin when I was in high school. His team dominated us. They beat us 48-3. Spytek was a tight end / defensive end on that team. We hit a field goal with about 48 seconds to go in that game, and we celebrated like we just won the Super Bowl because it was unbelievable. But Spytek, I think they might have won the state championship that year. But I always thought he was a pretty intelligent guy. Played football at University of Michigan with Tom Brady. I just feel like if the Bears can do it in 1 year, I would think that the Brady Spytek brain trust in Las Vegas, not necessarily coming, not doing exactly what Chicago did, but coming close enough where Genty pays off his ADP, close enough where Bowers can get back to a 1,000-yard threat, close enough where they can, transform Jack Bech or maybe somebody they draft or trade for or sign in free agency, where they at least have a threat on the perimeter that's better than Trey Tucker. I don't think they have to hit home run here, but if they hit a double, this is big news for Genty and Bowers then.
Yeah, no, bringing up some good points on some Raiders optimism. And yeah, nothing to disagree with there. I guess I would say what separates it from, or the two situations is, Caleb Williams, right? Caleb Williams was going into year 2. And so a guy going from year 1 to year 2, making a jump and helping to carry the rest of the offense. On top of that, his athleticism in the pocket, I think certainly helped them there. I don't know if Mendoza is quite as elusive in the pocket there, but I understand. I don't think the Raiders are going to be as I think the Raiders will be better. How could they not be? But I think for the instant fix angle, that would be what is you're starting a quarterback, and we assume Mendoza's draft, and we assume he's probably starting day 1. Well, I mean, again, it's still a rookie quarterback running that offense. And, I think it might look like Caleb Williams' rookie year, maybe in that ballpark. So that would be the concern, right?
You make a good point here. And I think I should reiterate, I don't believe Mendoza is, because both him and Caleb Williams will ostensibly be number 1 overall picks of the draft. I think there is a deep yawning chasm between the talent level, between Williams, at least the ceiling, between Williams and Mendoza. So I think there is a difference there. And Mendoza will be coming into his rookie year. Caleb Williams, as you pointed out, was coming into his second year in the NFL, which is massive. So I think there's that to be said as well. So maybe Genty and Bowers will be better, but maybe not their full Super Saiyan form yet.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, if they do, I mean, that's going to be crazy.
Right.
Or we'll see, but certainly better than last year's Raiders, I think, is a fair projection. But then year 2 Mendoza, if it looks good year 1, or if at least you can see him building something, that I could totally see.
And then they add another offensive lineman, they add another pass catcher, and boom. And we don't know what Kansas City is going to look like at that point. So there's something to be said for the Raiders in that division. Okay. Want to move on. Quick thoughts on Drew Petzing. We've been talking about him on this show. He is going to be calling plays over Dan Campbell. The Brad Holmes, the Lions GM, said that Petzing is going to be calling plays. He did some pretty good stuff with Connor and Benson as far as the running game. I know there was a lot of people that were nonplussed with what he was able to do with Marvin Harrison this past year, but maybe that's more of a commentary on Harrison when you consider how good Michael Wilson was, how good Trey McBride was. Your thoughts on Petzing calling plays in Detroit for players like Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams, and Sam Laporta?
Yeah, that's interesting. I know if you listen to Cardinals fans, they were happy to, they were not optimistic about Petzing. They were like, hey, get out of here. Yep. No love lost there. And yeah, he's going to be calling plays, but how much of it is his quote unquote offense versus what Dan Campbell wants to do? Dan Campbell took over play calling there in the second half of the season to, kind of mix results. I think that's why he brought in a new OC. So I think we're going to see more or less a similar Detroit offense that we saw, maybe a little tweaks there. So yeah, I don't have a strong take as far as like Petzing, shocking the world. I think it's going to be a similar offense to what we saw for the Lions.
Let me get a last offensive coordinator note here. Your Birds hired Sean Mannion from my Green Bay Packers. He is the new OC there. He takes over from Kevin Patullo. I'm sure we do not have the censor budget in like tonight for you to give your true thoughts on Kevin Patullo. But your thoughts on kind of a relative unknown with Mannion never being an OC in the NFL before. But as I speak for many Eagles fans here, he's got to be better than Kevin Patullo, right, Sean?
Yeah, I would think so, and I would hope so. And yeah, they're bringing it, and the big news of Jeff Stoutland not returning there as O-line coach. And I think that's certainly a loss. He did a great job with the Eagles there. So, but I think, and then they ended up bringing in an O-line coach that kind of knows, what Mannion plans to do scheme wise. I think he's considered like a young up and coming head coach. And I think the optimist case is similar to what we saw with, Shane Steichen and Kellen Moore, where they went on a run to the Super Bowl with Steichen and then won the Super Bowl with Kellen Moore. I'm optimistic. I mean, again, there's still a lot of talent on this Eagles team. And yeah, I like everyone was not impressed with Kevin Patullo's play calling, but I think there also was just some execution issues. With the receivers dropping balls. I think the offensive line had one of their worst years in a while. Traditionally a very reliable, dominant offense. Saquon, I didn't think had a obviously amazing year for him. Hurts probably not his best year there as well. So some of it, I think the players are getting a little bit of a pass, and everyone wants to make Patullo the whipping boy. I'm not obviously a Patullo fan, but I think the players deserve some criticism there for how the offense looked, and certainly head coach Nick Sirianni is, because he's supervising or whatever Nick Sirianni does. That being said, I'm excited for new blood. I'm excited for new scheme. To me, the biggest thing for the offense is Lane Johnson, ended with that, his season ended with that Liz Frank injury. And obviously the on and off splits with and without Lane are huge for this team. He's a big part of the team. He's a Hall of Fame right tackle. So getting Lane back, getting him healthy, which I'm projecting he will be back. There's some rumors of retirement, but I don't think he wants to end his career like he did, not being able to play there. I think he's still got at least one season left in him. So a healthy Lane, to me, yes, I expect better stuff with Sean Mannion scheme wise, but to me, getting Lane Johnson back healthy is huge. And hopefully we get better. Juergens, their center, was dealing with the back injury. He did not play well this season, and same with Landon Dickerson. So maybe they even bring back Mekhi Becton, who really didn't work out there in the Chargers. I'm interested to see what the O-line looks like. That to me, and obviously if A.J. Brown, if they trade him or not, the O-line I think is more interesting to me as the ceiling potential for this offense. Certainly scheme should be big too.
Perhaps you've already answered this next question, but the last thing I want to ask you, Sean, about the Eagles. If you could only bring back one of the following, who would it be to the Eagles in 2026? Lane Johnson, Dallas Goedert, or A.J. Brown?
Oh, Lane Johnson, 100%. Assuming there's not even close. I mean, yeah. And I like Dallas Goedert. I like A.J. Brown. He was a big part of the offensive success. But yeah, Lane Johnson is, and assuming Lane's healthy with like the Liz Frank and stuff. And unfortunately, it's a real tricky injury. And it seemed like he was going to play in that playoff game, and then he had a setback in practice and ultimately wasn't able to go. So a healthy Lane Johnson out of all those three, it's not close.
A healthy Lane Johnson is going to change the fantasy fortunes of Devonta Smith, Dallas Goedert, perhaps, and definitely Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts this year. If you want to get in on some of the early offerings with the FFPC Never Too Early Best Ball and Never Too Early Superflex Best Ball Tournament, $40,000 and $10,000 grand prizes available right now. Perhaps you want to go even bigger with the FFPC Big Gorilla and the FFPC Baby Gorilla, $1 million and $100,000 grand prizes, respectively, on that. And if you want to play fantasy football year round. We're constantly trading in, trading for, and trading away Saquon Barkley, Jalen Hurts, the rest of the Eagles, the rest of the NFL players. You can do that right now, picking up Dynasty Orphans for as little as $1 at myffpc.com. Go there right now, myffpc.com. Final segment's coming up. It's going to be an abbreviated one, but we have to get into some targets and fades with Sean Green from the Sports Gambling Podcast. I want to talk about Javonte Williams. We need to talk about Jordan Tyson. Let's get into Dalton Kincaid and Malik Willis, for God's sake, as well as you are drafting teams in the FFPC. Sean Green from the SGP Network is going to help you do that. I'm Eric Balkman. You're watching the FFPC Insider Access Show live on the Better Sports Network.
People often ask me, Coop, what's the best way to prove yourself in fantasy football? Is it to put some message out there on social media before everybody else? Is it to place a big bet on the big game or put something on the books there? No. I tell them the way to really prove yourself, that you know what you're doing, that you know ball, is to go over to FFPC and pick up one of their orphan dynasty teams. Pick up one of these teams that somebody else out there put together and they decided they don't want to play anymore. They didn't think they can handle it. They don't think they're good enough, right? And pick up one of these teams, oftentimes at a discount, and prove that you know what you're doing, that you know ball, that you can pick up one of these teams, you check out some players you like, maybe they got some picks for the future, and then you turn that team around and you win that league. And I love doing that because I got no allegiances to some other person's players. I go in there, I clean house like a real GM, and I take over and I make the team mine. And when you turn one of those teams around and you win one of those leagues and you win that money, like I said, oftentimes picking up these teams at a discount, that's the best way to prove yourself. FFPC.com is where the truly elite players play. And if you can win one of those leagues, you are absolutely gold plated. If you've never played over there, go to myffpc.com, use promo code ALARM. They'll give you $25 when you deposit $35 or more. And you can take over a team today and prove that you have what it takes.
We are simulcasting live here on the Insider Access Show, brought to you by the FFPC on the Better Sports Network, with the NFL Honors award show that's going on right now. And I have to ask tonight's guest co-host, Sean Green, from Sports Gambling Podcast Network, VSiN. He does it all. Your thoughts on Kevin Patullo winning Assistant Coach of the Year tonight? I'm flabbergasted. Unbelievable stuff, right?
Stun the market. Yeah, long shot price, certainly.
I'm just kidding. Josh McDaniels won that award. It was not Kevin Patullo. It reminds me of, like, I had a rough year my senior year playing corner in high school football, and at the big conference awards banquet, my fullback came up to me and said, "Hey, Balky, I heard you won third team all conference for a corner this year." And I'm like, "What? That's awesome." Never thinking I did. I didn't. I wasn't close, and it was a cruel joke being played on me. So it is what it is, whatever. We have to get into the FFPC Never Too Early Best Ball Tournament targets and fades. We'll hit on a bunch of players here. I want to lead things off with Javonte Williams right now, because I think this is interesting, Sean, when we consider that we don't know exactly where Javonte Williams is going to be playing this year, but we know how good he was last year with Dallas. Right now, he is going as running back. I just had it up here. 22 at the 508. So right behind Travis Etienne, Cam Scatterbo, right ahead of Quinshon Judkins and DeAndre Swift. You want to be in business with Javonte Williams in the mid-fifth round right now?
I mean, I was fading Javonte Williams last year, and then that was not a good fade. He played really well. I was very surprised. So I guess I don't understand why he was successful in Dallas. And I guess if I'm the Cowboys, why would you not try and bring Javonte Williams back? We'll see what they end up doing. They need, why are you trying to move on from Javonte Williams? So yeah, that's probably about right for Javonte Williams. But again, I don't understand why he was so successful in Dallas. So I'm probably not a Javonte Williams expert, because I didn't see this coming at all.
Well, is there something to be said for, like, him just being fully recovered from the ACL?
Yeah.
And that's all it was. And Denver's kind of like, God, we soaked this second round pick into RJ Harvey. We're giving carries to Jaleel McLaughlin over him. Maybe we should have kept Javonte Williams around.
Yeah, no, it's probably again the year after the year, and he finally is fully healthy off that ACL. But he looked pretty explosive this season. So, yeah, I don't see any reason to fade Javonte Williams.
Jadarian Price is going. This surprised me when I looked at this from Fantasy Mojo. Jadarian Price, who is a rookie running back from Notre Dame, not the rookie running back from Notre Dame. He backed up Jeremiah Love, but he still had some good numbers this past year. I'll get into that in a second. He's running back 27 in the Never Too Early Best Ball tournament right now. That puts him at 707, right behind Jalen Warren and Kyle Monangai. He is going ahead of Ramondre Stevenson, Rico Dowdle, and Tony Pollard. Now, his freshman year of college, he missed because he ruptured his Achilles. If you look at his numbers after that, and I'll specifically cite 2025 here, Sean, 113 carries, 674 yards. That's an average of 6 yards a carry. He got in the end zone 11 times. He only caught 6 balls for 87 yards, but 2 of those 6 catches were for touchdowns. He's kind of an interesting guy to sort of like formulate what you think he's going to be in the pros, or at least what he's going to be in 2026, because he was playing behind Jeremiah Love. There's some ups, there's some downs. And to me, running back 27, little too rich for my blood currently, but maybe you have a different feeling on it.
No, yeah, he's not a guy I'm dying to take. Again, we don't know what team he's going to be playing for, right. But which again, maybe if he lands in the perfect spot, I could talk myself into him. But again, this is the time of year where people are hyping up rookies and are like, oh, he could be awesome. What's in the box, Lois? It could be a boat. So I
could also be Gwyneth Paltrow's head, which would be
exactly.
Yeah.
Great Seven reference.
Yeah, there you
go. I'm not looking to buy him, and a lot of those some of the other running backs you mentioned in that space I like better. So I'd rather have Kyle Monangai, the known entity here, than the upside there.
Running back 37, I'm on board with.
Yeah, 27's a little high.
I totally agree. Wide receiver, let's look at Ricky Pearsall here. And if you look at well, there's a lot of things we need to look at with it when drafting Ricky Pearsall in 2026. Wide receiver 35 is where he stands right now, 709, behind DK Metcalf, Marvin Harrison Jr., right ahead of Mekhi Lemon and Michael Wilson. My whole thing with Pearsall is we don't know what's going on with Jennings. We know that George Kittle might not be ready for the start of the season. And we also know that Christian McCaffrey had some of the heaviest usage of his career in 2025. So we don't know how healthy he's going to remain. Pearsall could be like the last man standing. It's John Lynch already said it sounds like Brandon Ayuk has played his last down of football for the Niners. Pearsall in the mid to late 7th. How do you feel about that pick, knowing what we know right at this moment about the Niners offense?
Well, still have to do some more research on the substation and whether that's going to impact Ricky Pearsall there. But I was big on Ricky Pearsall coming into this season, got out to the hot start, dealt with the injuries. I would happily buy Ricky Pearsall at that price going into the season because it's the Shanahan offense. I think if he stays healthy, they love him. And a lot of, his injuries, I don't think are something that's going to repeat. He's a guy who, literally survived a bullet wound. I'm sure he can deal with these other injuries. So yeah, I like Ricky Pearsall a lot going into next season. I'm sure I'll be high on him again.
I was not thrilled that he went after a man with a gun. Dude, let him have the watch.
Yeah.
You'll recover. I don't like that, but I do like that dog mentality on the field.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So there's something to be said for that. Travis Hunter, some news this past week and a half ago that he may or may not be a corner or may or may not be more of a like most of his duties will be on defense rather than offense this year is what I'm trying to say. And if you connect the dots, they traded for and extended Jacoby Myers. They still have Brian Thomas Jr. on this team. And we all saw what Trevor Lawrence did with Parker Washington at the end of the season. So for anybody who's holding Travis Hunter in dynasty leagues, for anybody who's thinking about drafting him, Sean, he has slipped to wide receiver 53 in the 12th round behind Khalil Shakir and Xavier Worthy, right ahead of Jaden Higgins and Jaden Reed. I understand there's a ceiling to be drafted there, and certainly you want to be drafting for ceiling on February 5th, 2026. But, man, I got my doubts about Hunter as a wide receiver this year. Your thoughts on him?
Yeah, man, he was such a tough guy to project and figure out. And honestly, I would say the biggest case against Travis Hunter is that the offense looked pretty good when he wasn't out there, right? Yeah. So if you're Liam Cohen, are you dying to work in Travis Hunter? And hey, maybe you are just an awesome cornerback. Like, I loved his athleticism, but if I'm Liam Cohen, I'm having him focus more on cornerback. And how much receivers is he going to be playing next year? Yeah, I think there's a lot of reasons. I mean, honestly, the bigger on-off splits for the Jags offense was Brenton Strange, right? Like, when he was out there, and not out there, that seemed to be a much bigger difference than Travis Hunter being out there or not. So I think the Liam offense continues to be solid, but I don't know if they need Travis Hunter. So I don't think they're going to be dying to give him a ton of work. So I think he's kind of a luxury pick for them. And I wouldn't be surprised if they try and use him either in spots again offensively, but I just don't. How do you project like a regular workload for him?
I don't know if you can. And the other thing to bring up too is if they are using him in packages, which has been suggested by Jacksonville beat writers, if he's out there, wouldn't you think the ball's going to him? Like can't you just if you're a defense, can't you just zero in on your coverage on Travis Hunter? And like I don't know, man. Like I'm super down on Hunter right now, super up on Parker Washington.
Yeah,
maybe not on BTJ too much, but definitely on Parker Washington and Jacoby Myers going forward. Tight end Kyle Pitts. I envisioned this dude when he was crushing it at the end of the year, Sean.
Yeah,
that he was going to be a player that was going to be way overdrafted in FFPC tight end premium leagues. I'm pleased to announce, I guess, he is tight end 7 at the 602, which coming off his best year since his rookie season, or maybe his best year overall, he is going behind McBride, Bowers, Loveland, Warren, and then Fannin and Kraft are going ahead of him as well. I don't know. Tight end 6 at the 602. Normally, I don't like those kind of middling tight ends. I like the elite guys, or I like waiting. I might have to look at Kyle Pitts. Again, he's a free agent. We don't know where he's going to be going, and maybe that's the reason for him slipping to tight end 7 right now.
Yeah, I guess that's my and I hit a nice 2 touchdown bet, although he ended up catching 3 against the Bucs in that game, because the Bucs were horrible against the tight end. And it did seem like Kirk Cousins, a veteran quarterback, really figured out how to unlock Kyle Pitts. And so I think I kind of want to wait on Kyle Pitts till I see what quarterback he's matched up with. If it's a veteran quarterback that likes a good tight end, I think he's a good play on. If he stays in Atlanta with Kirk Cousins, I like it. If not, I don't know. If it's a younger quarterback, yeah, we'll see. I want to wait to see who his quarterback is first, because I do think that is a big part of it.
So the last tight end I want to bring up is the rookie Kenyon Sadiq out of Oregon. Right now, if we look at the FFPC Never Too Early Best Ball Tournament, this dude is being drafted as a starting tight end. He's tight end 11 behind Gadsden and Ferguson, right ahead of Kincaid and Juwan Johnson. Is the hype worth the draft capital investment, in your opinion, Sean?
Yeah, I don't know. I would save my my like upshot rookie guys for running back or a receiver or something. I don't know. Like it's tough to project a rookie tight end, and it's been in a weird space because normally rookie tight ends don't hit the ground running. We've seen what we've seen recently. They have been. It's kind of spot dependent. So if you're drafting him without knowing where he's at, I would probably look to fade the hype this early.
I am with you. I am fading the hype. The only thing that has me going is his price tag, and the fact that that's if I miss out on McBride, Bowers, Loveland, or whatever, that's the kind of area I want to be hitting on tight end.
Yeah.
And certainly there's some ceiling there. But I'm with you as far as we need to
historically rookie tight ends have not been fantasy darlings, but we've seen maybe there's some recency bias because guys we've seen recently have kind of hit the ground running. So
the last thing I want to bring up with you tonight, shifting the quarterback, Malik Willis, a backup for the Packers the last couple of years, former 3rd round pick from Tennessee. really has changed the way we think about him going forward. And now we'll see how the NFL thinks about him. Brian Gutekunst, the GM of the Packers, in his press conference this past week, said that he expects Willis to go to a team that will allow him to compete for a starting job. Quarterback 26 at the 1402, behind Bryce Young and Cam Ward, ahead of Daniel Jones, JJ McCarthy. Dude, with the rushing capability, this is a player I want to get. If I'm drafting in February, I want to get him as my backup quarterback just to see what happens.
No, 100%. He's a guy that passes the eye test. LaFleur and Sean Mannion, Eagles offensive coordinator, did a great job. I mean, that's probably what helped Sean Mannion get a job, is obviously, Jordan Love, but like, look at how they developed Malik Willis. Whatever part he was a part of there, he certainly deserves credit. And honestly, if I'm the Arizona Cardinals, I'm making a push for Malik Willis in Arizona. And if he's partnered up with that offensive skill position players, I think that's a nice. Now, if you end up in New York, are you liking it? No, but I think I'm happily betting on Malik Willis's talent. Even if he ends up in a bad spot, his rushing floor, I think, can carry you. So, definitely a buy on Malik Willis right now.
I think that's the thing we have to understand. We're drafting in February. Like, draft him as your backup quarterback right now and just see what happens. He's quarterback 26. He's being drafted essentially as a quarterback 3. Get him now, and if you need to cut him, if he doesn't end up where you want him to, you can fix that in single quarterback leagues, even in super flex leagues to a certain extent as well. So I'm with you on that 100% with Malik Willis. We're closing things up here, Sean. This has been so much fun to chop it up with you tonight, pick your brain on everything going on. Two final things tonight. Number one, tell us about Sports Gambling Podcast, the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, VSiN, everything you guys are doing there. I want to hear about it.
Yeah, Sports Gambling Podcast. Again, the big thing is 60 Super Bowl prop bets for Super Bowl 60. Wherever you get your podcast, we got you covered. The College Experience on our network, daily college basketball picks podcast, picking every college basketball game against the spread. And yeah, we do a VSiN show every Friday night, 10 o'clock East, VSiN.com, SiriusXM, channel 158, YouTube TV. So, we're going to be live from Las Vegas tomorrow night. Check us out. And if you're in Vegas, come say hi.
VSiN Live, that is 7 o'clock Pacific time, so 10 o'clock Eastern time on Friday nights. At Gambling Podcast on X, at the SGP Network on X, and of course at Sean T. Green on X as well. And then the YouTube is just simply youtube.com.
Sports Gambling Podcast. Yep. YouTube.com. Sports Gambling Podcast. Type it in. Any of your search things will come up.
You'll come up. Absolutely. Final question for you. Give me a final score of Super Bowl 60 between Seattle and New England as it stands right now for you, Sean.
Seattle Seahawks 21, New England Patriots 13.
Oh, okay. So you like the under and you like the Seahawks.
Yep.
I like the under as well, but I do like the Patriots to cover, not necessarily win. But I'm loving the pick from you tonight. Let's do this again sometime, Sean. This was a lot of
thanks
fun.
for having me, man. Appreciate it.
We will not be strangers. Good luck. I'm assuming you guys will be in Pros versus Joes for the FFPC this coming year. We'll talk about that as well. Enjoy the game. Keep up all the great work with Sports Gambling Podcast.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. That's Sean Green, ladies and gentlemen. I want to remind everybody that FFPC Dynasty Empire Dynasty and Dynasty Empire Orphans available. MyFFPC.com. Never Too Early Best Ball Tournament. Never Too Early Superflex Best Ball Tournament. Big Gorilla and Baby Gorilla all going on at MyFFPC.com. I want to thank Sean Green for coming on tonight. I want to thank our producer, Sean Engel, for being the man behind the glass. We'll be back next Thursday, 7 o'clock Eastern on Thursday night. Doug Orth from Fantasy Football Today makes his return to this podcast. Enjoy the Super Bowl, everybody. For Sean Engel and Sean Green, I'm Eric Balkman. This has been FFPC Insider Access live on the Better Sports Network. Enjoy the big game on Sunday, everybody.